When you get into the platform off the bat, you might have some positions open if you're an existing customer with us, but if you are using the platform for the first time, you're going to be taken to our positions tab under our trading window. So we have our manage section, we have a dashboard. Manage section is where you're doing all your funding. Dashboard is where you can kind of get an overview of your accounts, but mainly today we're just going to be in our trading interface. So you can get there by clicking on trading in the top left. And then once you're ready to place some trades or analyze your trades, you'll go to our trade mode. So under the trading tab, you go to trade. So there's a lot of trade, but hopefully you'll figure that out soon enough. So we can go to our trading tab and click on that on the left, and we'll be taken to a different window. Might look a little bit different, might look like an options chain here. You might see something different. We'll go through all the different kind of windows. But now that we're in the trade mode, we want to pull up a symbol. So right now, I do have Walmart already selected. So WMT is the ticker symbol for Walmart. We can see some data on Walmart at the top of our platform. But if we wanted to pull up a different symbol or trade anything else, we can always go to the top of the platform here under Find a Symbol or Company. And that's where we can start to select or search up a different company. Say you want to trade SPX, you could type in SPX, SPY. You could do NVIDIA, NVDA. And you can also type out the name like Costco. Type out the full name, click on the result, and now you'll see that the bottom of our screen did a little update, but also at the top of our screen, we're going to see that now we have Costco selected, and we'll see the options chain on Costco below. And that's just searching it at the top. What's nice too is on our left side here too, just in terms of navigation, as you're looking to analyze different positions or your open positions as well. You can go to the left side here, click on this little hamburger icon in the top left. Doesn't look like a hamburger, but that's what it's called. You can click on that and that pulls up your watch list. And here we can check out a bunch of different watch lists, curated, pre-made watch lists. You can make some yourself. You can toss a link on how to do that in the chat there. But for example, maybe you want to check out, hey, I want to see stocks, ETFs in the technology industry. I could select that watch list. And then what's really nice is that all you got to do is just left click on any of these symbols in our watch list and we'll pull up the options chain. And you'll see the header update as well to whatever you're looking at. So we can look at Cisco, we can look at NVIDIA, we can look at PayPal. So this is how you can navigate towards pulling up symbols or which symbols you want to analyze. So as you're looking through, you can even go to open positions. And right here, this is for one of our other accounts, but you can click through and, say we have the analysis mode up in a little bit. Just makes it a little easier as you're going through your different positions or your options analysis. But enough with navigation. Let's go ahead and just get into placing some trades. So I think Walmart wasn't too bad, especially with all the talks of a recession. Maybe we'll look at some defensive stocks, right? Market's very interesting recently. And also looking at our risks are going to be very, very important as we, there's a lot of things going on. Don't necessarily know where the market's going to go. And that's where defined risk can really help out, or knowing or managing your own undefined risk is extremely important right now. So we went back to Walmart here at the top, and we have the options chain on Walmart below. Now this is just showing us all the options expirations. So we can see it based on the date, or my personal preference. My eyes usually just gravitate towards the center of the screen here, where you can see the amount of days until expiration. So we have 1 day until expiration, 7 days until expiration, 15 days until expiration, and all the way going down. You'll also note that you'll see here some slightly different coloring. So you see these W's here and how it's a little darker blue on the screen. That is indicating a weekly expiration. Vice versa, if it doesn't have a W, like this April 17th, that's the monthly expiration or the third Friday of the month. If you don't see the weeklies and you want to trade them, especially for those of you that like to trade 0 DTE options or short-term options, you can go in the top right here, click on this little expand icon. Just make sure that you have all expirations selected. For example, if I were to just go regular expirations, that's just looking at the monthlies, you'll no longer see those W's in the weekly expirations. Also, if we go non-regular, we can just see all the weekly expirations only. In this case, we just want to look at all of them. And now some people were mentioning, hey, can we look at some vertical spreads? So let's go ahead and place a spread here on Walmart. And just to preface, this is just an example trade. This is an investment advice in any fashion. So we're just placing this in an example. It's not necessarily a good trade or a bad trade, just using it as an example. So let's look at maybe 36 days out, this May 16th expiration. I can click on this row, and now it's going to expand all the different strike prices that we can trade for that expiration. You'll also notice that there's quite a few other things going on the screen. We can cover that a little bit later, but we're just going to get into our analysis mode as quick as we can. So we can set up a trade here, either by clicking on the bid or ask prices, or ask or bid based on the arrows I was pointing there, on the call side. So we have calls on the left and puts on the right side. And I'll show you really quick. If we wanted to buy, say, the 90 strike call, we can click on the associated ask price here, and that will set up a buy leg on this call. Conversely, if we wanted to sell the 92.5 call, we could click on $3 right here, and that will sell the call. So that's one way that you can set up this trade, is just by simply clicking on the bid or ask. For example, maybe if we wanted to set up more legs, we can click on all those. And if you think, I don't really want any of these legs, you can always go to clear trade here in the top right corner. That's just going to get all those different legs deleted. This is just staging the trade, by the way. We're not placing the trade in any fashion. We're just setting it up. On the flip side, if you wanted to set up a strategy, maybe you're not exactly sure, or you're new to this and you want to make sure that you're setting it up correctly, you can also go into our strategy selector tool here at the top of the screen. And this will show you all the different option strategies that you can place on this platform. I mean, there are some custom strategies that you can place as well, but these are just kind of the traditional, most used strategies in options trading. And we were talking about vertical spreads. So we could go vertical spread. Maybe we want to do a long call spread. So what we can do is toggle this call and put icon here. See, clicking back and forth, and we can go short or long too. So in this case, we just want a long call, vertical. We can click go. And now that's going to set up that same trade that we just had before. And what's nice is that once you're in this window here, you'll be able to left click and drag your legs to your desired strike prices. So if we want to widen out this spread to maybe, $5 wide, or we want to tighten it up a little bit, maybe get a little bit more out of the money on this, and go a little bit higher on the expected move. But also we have a set of tools here at the bottom in terms of changing around your strike prices. So we can use these arrows here in the bottom left. Let's just show you one more time. So we got these settings here. So we can change our strikes up and down, change our width as well and collapse it too. And then also we can change our quantity. Maybe we want to do multiple spreads. Or, someone was asking about ratios, I believe, earlier, or how to change the quantities. One thing just to note, if you're setting up a ratio or an unbalanced spread here, maybe a 2-to-1 ratio, you can left click on one of the legs and you'll see that it'll gray highlight it. And then when you go down here to quantity and you change the quantity, you'll notice now that it only changed the quantity for the leg that we had highlighted. So right now we're buying one of the 92.5s, selling 2 of the 95s. We can increase the quantity more, do a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, all the way up to 8-to-1, and we can go back down to a 1-to-1. If you have both legs highlighted or selected, or just neither of them selected, and change the quantity, you'll notice it'll go 1-to-1. So now we're buying 2 vertical spreads instead of a ratio. Quick little note there. But okay, let's just set up a spread here like I was showing earlier. We'll click on the bid and ask to set up our vertical spread. And just based on our little table mode here, we're going to see some data on our trade, and this is going to update in real time based on what legs that you have selected. So you'll notice, just kind of look at these numbers here at the bottom. As I drag my short leg, you'll notice that all those values are updating as I'm adjusting my setup here on my vertical spread. Maybe we'll do a little $5 wide. Why not? And here we can see some data like POP, which stands for probability of profit. This is a metric that's looking at the chance that your option spread is going to profit $1, at least $1 upon expiration. So in this case, there's a 38% chance that this spread is going to end up in the money. And then we also have beta weighted deltas. That's looking at your deltas based on a beta weighted symbol. In this case, we're saying, hey, if SPY were to go up $1, what would be the increase in profit on my spread? We also have extrinsic value, P50. These are, I can get into some more on extrinsic P50. We have some definitions that David can toss in the chat there. But in short, P50 is another interesting one in terms of looking at the percentage chance that your spread here or your option strategy will reach a 50% profit on or before expiration. So in this case, based on how we have it set up and looking at a Black-Scholes model, we can see that there's about a 66, 67% chance that it'll reach 50% profit at some point before expiration or on expiration. And also we have delta theta. This is just looking at, hey, how bullish are we? Or how much profit will we get if the price in Walmart goes up? And then theta as well is looking at how does time decay play into this strategy? We have a long call spread, so we want the price to increase fast instead of having that time decay eat at our strategy. So in this case, time decay or theta does not play in our favor. And then also we have our max profit, max loss, and how much buying power is going to be taken up to open the strategy. Pretty much how much cash do we need to set aside in our account to keep the strategy open? It's kind of like a collateral in a sense. And then we had a $5 wide spread. So it makes sense here based on our opening price as well, that our max loss is going to equal our debit that we'll look to pay when we open the spread. And then our max profit is just 500 minus that amount. That's just some base data that we can look at. But next, kind of the thing that we wanted to talk about most today is looking at the analysis mode. So in the right side panel here, and it might be collapsed for you, but if we, you might be on overview on the right side here, you might be on positions, activity, but on this right side panel, make sure that you go to analysis right here. So at the bottom, see analysis. We can scroll our mouse over it, click on analysis. And then once you're in the analysis mode, we can click at the top and go activate analysis mode. And now this is going to take us to a screen that I'm sure many of you are familiar with if you've already been trading with other brokers or with us on our other platforms. You'll see your profit or loss curve here. And this is simply just based on an at expiration off the bat. So we're looking at our profit or loss at expiration based on the price of Walmart. So here on the x-axis, this is showing us the different prices of Walmart right now. And it looks like this might be a bit of a janky expiration, honestly, but we'll keep it for now. But you can see the price for Walmart, and it's saying, hey, if Walmart were to, say, trade up to a certain price, and drawing tools are giving me a hard time, but say the price of Walmart were to go up to about $100.30, we could see that our profit or loss at expiration caps out at $293. Conversely, if it trades way down right now to say $83, we would be at a profit or loss of about negative 212. And then you can also see all the prices in between based on where this underlying is going to end up at expiration. So this is simple enough in terms of looking at your at expiration. And the way that you can pull up your at expiration graph, if you're not seeing that right now, is in your analysis tool selection on the right side, you'll see a couple different selections here. First things first is that right now we're looking at lines, so you'll see P&L at expiration here is selected. If I untoggle that, we're not seeing anything on the screen. If I go back to P&L at expiration, we'll see our expiration line. Additionally, there's going to be the zones field here too. If I were to untoggle at expiration, we're not seeing those green and red areas underneath our line. So again, if you just want to look at your profit or loss at expiration, or in this case, what our profit or loss would look like based on the price of Walmart in 36 days, you can do lines, P&L at expiration, and zones at expiration. I'll talk about some of the other features here, but for the most part, you'll just want to have these selected when you're looking at expiration. You'll want to have your info box, you'll want to have analysis details as well, and then at expiration. Now to get into the good stuff in terms of our analysis tools is we can also look at our strategy based on theoretical values. So we can toggle our line from P&L at expiration to P&L Theo. And then we can also change our zones to Theo as well. So we'll toggle this to Theo and we'll toggle this to theoretical as well. And we can untoggle our P&L at expiration line. And now you'll notice that instead of our rigid lines of capped profit and loss, we're actually looking at our theoretical profit or loss based on Walmart's price for today. How do we know what day we're looking at? It's going to be at this value down here. You can look at the evaluate at date, and you can change this date all the way up until expiration. So right now we're looking at, hey, what would be my estimated profit or loss on this strategy or theoretical profit or loss if Walmart were to trade up to $98.50, right where my cursor is right here? Well, our profit or loss would be right around, 147 if it were to trade up just today. But on the flip side, maybe we want to see what this looks like in, say, a week from now. So we can pull up our little date here today. So in this case, we could click on this little calendar icon on the evaluate debt. God, scrambling my words, but at the evaluate at date section, there we go, got to enunciate. But once you go here, you can check on the 17th and see how your strategy would look like from a week from now. You can see it's starting to kind of get a little bit closer to look like our at expiration graph. If you were to say go another week to the 24th, again, you're going to see that starting to curve out to that at expiration line. Or if we were to go all the way to our expiration, which I believe was May 16th, we can go May 16th. And now, look, the theoretical line looks almost identical to our at expiration line. That makes sense because we're looking at our strategy on the day of expiration. So that's how you can play around with evaluating at different dates. But what's nice too is that you can also do analysis based on, let's go back to today. We can also change around the theoretical spot price. So we can change around our spot price here. And you'll notice that our P&L Theo is going to adjust as well. So in this case, we're just kind of looking at, you can use your cursor here and scroll up and down and see the info box, or conversely, you can look over here and play around with the boxes around here. So if we can actually expand this out a little bit, now we'll keep it. But you can see P&L Theo here. And you can see as we change our theoretical spot price, how our P&L Theo on each of our legs is adjusting. So you can do it based on your mouse. You can do it based on just these numbers here. But personally, I just kind of scroll my mouse up and down. And then another thing that we can mess around with, and you can ignore that for right now. It looks like someone's firing off some trades in one of the other accounts here, is that we can also look at implied volatilities too. So in this case, we can look at our expirations implied volatility. So in this case, we're a long call spread, right? we want volatility to increase. So we can look at this and say, okay, let's go ahead and increase our volatility. We can see, okay, if volatility on our expiration goes up 23%, how this affects our theoretical profit or loss. You can also tick it down or type in a number as well. We could do negative 10%, see how that impacts our strategy too. And then also, if we wanted to, we can click on use per contract IBs. So that's another selection. Let me clear up my drawings here. It's getting a little messy. We can go to use per contract IVs. And instead of adjusting the volatility for each or for the entire expiration that we're looking at, we can instead adjust the volatility for individual legs. So we can say, hey, oh, if the volatility on my 90 call goes up 5%, but maybe volatility on the 95 is only 4%. Again, how does that interact with my theoretical profit or loss? Awesome. So that's, again, how we can look at some of the theoreticals. And then too, one thing to note as well is if you want to see the Greeks too, you want to see how your delta, gamma, theta, vega, or rho are impacted based on the change in price in the underlying as well. So in this case, maybe we can look at our delta line here. It's relatively pretty simple, but we could see that, as our price in Walmart increases, we're going to start to get some less long deltas on our call spread. On the other side, as it decreases, we'll start to see it decline as well. Now we can look at, say, maybe theta too. You can see how our theta changes as the price on Walmart increases or decreases based on the date that we're analyzing at. And also, say we're looking at theta and maybe we start analyzing at different dates, you'll see how changing the date is also interacting with our Greeks as well. And that's just a basic overview of our analysis tool. And I see some questions asking about it doesn't necessarily look the same, or oh, my platform looks a little bit different. This is going to be our web platform. So we're at my.tastytrade.com. We do have a nice tutorial video on our desktop platform. It's somewhat similar in terms of its interface. All the buttons and tools and functionality are one-to-one, except on our web platform here, a lot of these buttons are on the right side panel instead of the top of the screen. So I'm sure David can toss a link to our video for our desktop platform, but today we're just talking about our web platform. So that's analyzing our position there. But now what's nice too is that say we wanted to add in some additional legs, and let's just clean this up a little bit so we can get that off of there. Say we wanted to, change around the strategy or move around our strikes. What's nice is that at any time you can left click and drag your strikes as well. So you can edit your strategy based on these profit or loss metrics. Maybe we're looking at P&L on expiration, and we can kind of see, move around our strikes here to see how that changes around our strategy. So maybe we'll go back to the 90.95, and we can wait for that to adjust there, and that'll set up our spread. Other than just our analysis tool there in terms of looking at P&L at expiration or theoretical P&L, we can also go to our quick analysis tab here in our order ticket. So if we go to quick analysis, click on that down there. So just to show you one more time, it was, oops, expand that one more time, go back to trade. It's this button right here, quick analysis in our order ticket, and click on that. That'll expand our window here. And now we can see, again, just some more information on our trade. We had all of these metrics on the bottom of our order ticket, but you can just see them in a different view right here. And then personally, my favorite, if you want to look at your exact break-even points on this trade or the exact price that your break-even is going to be at, you can see that break-even price right here. So in this case, for our strategy, our break-even point is $92.16. So at expiration, if it expired at that price, we'd have a profit or loss of $0 on this strategy. And then also you can see your max profit. Oops. Let's go back. You can see your max profit and max loss based on how you have it set up. I mentioned P50 here earlier as well, or the probability that your strategy will reach a 50% profit before expiration. This is actually a graphical representation of it, looking at all the days until expiration. What are the chances or the amount of times looking at Monte Carlo simulations or just looking at a bunch of different instances of different variables or different metrics and taking those 1,000 different simulations and figuring out, hey, how many times in those amount of simulations are we seeing a 50% profit point on this trade? So this graph, it gives you a little bit of a picture of it. But personally, if you go to the cumulative, it makes a little more sense where you start to see all these days until expiration. So we have days until expiration at the bottom and the amount of the trades that reach 50%. It's adding up each of those instances all the way up to the top here, where we'll see it's about 700 or 670 in this case out of 1,000, where it's kind of jumping around based on the prices changing too. But you'll see that that 670 or 680 divided by 1,000 is giving you that P50 of 65, 66, 67%. So that's just a little graphical representation of P50 if you're interested in looking into that metric. And then we can go back to our trade ticket here, go to trade. And I see some questions about analysis on the desktop too. Near our Q&A in just a few minutes, I can pull up the platform here in a second and show you all how you can just get to the analysis tab on the desktop platform as well. And then we can clear up our trade there. And actually, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's do that one more time. We can go 90 call, long call, 95 short call. And we can see the market that this is trading at. It's a little bit wide, but it's trading between $2 debit and 2 cents, between 240, mid price of 220. The closer, the more that we pay on a long call spread, the more likely that we're going to end up getting a fill on it. So maybe we'll do, 225, and, we can always adjust the price if we don't end up getting filled right away. So we can adjust our limit price down here to 2.25, kind of right between the mid and the net there. We can go to review and send, double check our order ticket. Okay. Yep, makes sense. We're buying the 90 call, we're selling the 95. And we can see our commissions and fees that we're going to pay. We can see our buying power reduction, the trade cost, the order price that we're placing at. See all that stuff in our order ticket here. And once we're ready, we can go ahead and click submit. And now in this case, we have our working order and we got filled on it. So we placed a limit at 225 there. We got filled at 224. So very nice there. A little bit of price improvement. And we can go back to our positions tab here if it wants to work well for me. Let's go back here. Drive well with me now. Sometimes Zoom absolutely throttles my laptop. So let's go back here just in a second. Oop. There we go. Okay, just a quick little refresh there. But here now in our positions tab, we can see the vertical spread that we just opened. So we're in our positions tab. You can see our vertical spread. We can see some metrics like our profit or loss to open, some of the Greeks, days till expiration. You can edit all these columns. And I can show you how to do that in just a little bit. But just again, talking about getting into our analysis mode on your open positions, if we ever want to go back and analyze our open position, again, check out the theoreticals or see how an adjustment might change around our trade, we can left click on our legs here, or you can just click on the strategy icon or the name at the top, and then you go to actions down here, or you can right click as well. So we can just right click on our legs, and then you'll notice here that we can close our position. We can set up a close at profit. We could set up a bracket order, like a take profit and stop loss order. We could roll expirations, we could roll strikes, or in this case, we want to analyze it again. We could just go to analysis, and it's going to take us back to the screen that we were just at. And then two, just to show you one more time, maybe we want to roll our expirations to say, or maybe we want to roll our strikes up. We could roll our strikes up. We'll see here that in our analysis mode, and it looks like we already had some legs open. So let me clear out this trade, go back to our positions tab, go roll strikes up. Interesting. Okay. So here we can see that we have our trade here. We'll on top of those legs. Yeah, it's giving us a hard time. But here you can actually analyze what it would look like when you've rolled your positions. The way to toggle between them in this right side here, you can toggle which legs you want to view. So in this case, if we only wanted to look at our rolled legs, and again, it's giving me a little bit of a hard time on my laptop at the moment, but you'll be able to toggle between those legs here. Or, oh, we were just changing the strike price. I thought we were rolling expirations. I clicked the other one. I'm on one today, but you can see how your trade would be impacted by closing your current position and opening it up at a different strike price. So we can see and drag around our legs here if we wanted to a different price. Again, Zoom is absolutely throttling my laptop at the moment, so it looks a little laggy, but you can ignore that for the most part. So dropped this laptop a little too many times. Oh, awesome. So that's how you can check out and analyze rolls as well, either to strikes or different expiration. And then some other things that we can just talk about before opening up to Q&A. I see there's a lot of questions, and I've just been trying to get through the stuff we wanted to talk about before getting to a lot of them. But one other place that you can go in terms of analyzing your positions is going to be in our backtesting tool. So on our left side panel here, we can go to backtest. And there's a quick agreement here. We'll get through that. And what's nice is that we do have some nice tutorials in our backtesting tool in terms of setting up your backtest and what some of these different metrics mean. But for example, say instead of looking at our theoretical profit or loss in the future, we wanted to see how this strategy would have performed on, we're looking at Walmart, right? So we can scroll down here, go to WMT, look at Walmart, maybe over the past year. So we can change time intervals. And what's nice is you can look at different events too. You can see like, the pandemic sell-off. Well, how would this strategy would have performed during that time period? And then in this case, we could just do 12 months. We'll do our debit call spread, click on that. And then we have our metrics in terms of setting it up. We can do our amount of contracts. We can do the amount of deltas that our strikes are going to be placed at when looking at this back test and the days until expiration. And then I see how many iterations are done. It depends on how you set it up. So what you can do is you can pretty much set it up here to have your entry conditions based on, hey, I only want to open exactly when my days until expirations align with my criteria at the top. I only want to open up new trades on specific days, or just every day look to open up a trade based on my criteria. And now in this case, it would say, hey, I'm going to try and open up a bunch of different trades here, but maybe that's not necessarily realistic on what we're looking to do. Instead, we could go to here to limit number of active trades to say, hey, I only want one trade open at a time. So it's still going to look every day or look at your strategy if you already have one open in the back test. But once that position is closed, either based on your stop loss or take profit, or it reaches expiration, then it's going to go ahead and go back and say, okay, now on the next day or that same day, we're opening up the same strategy based on our criteria again. And two here, say you always like to close your positions a day before expiration. You can set it to 1 DT, or you can just turn this off. And if your exit conditions aren't hit, or you don't have any exit conditions, it'll just hold it until expiration every time. So maybe in this case, we'll say, hey, I want a stop loss at maybe 80%. We'll do a take profit at maybe a little conservative at 50%. Now we can run our back test. And this is going to show us a breakdown on our profit or loss for this strategy, our max risk, max drawdown, our return on capital, and then also the average profit or loss per trade. What's nice too is that we can see our orange line here is showing us our strategy or our long call spread, its performance over the last year. But the gray line is actually just showing us if we had bought the outright or just bought stock in Walmart itself, and we're able to compare. So both of these are bullish strategies. They match each other pretty darn closely. But that's how you can compare. You can compare the buy and hold based on your capital efficiency. So in this case, if you were to buy call spreads over the last year, it's definitely more capital efficient than just buying the stock itself. And you're actually able to grab a little bit more profit. Now, again, this is based on historical data. The past year was a little bit simpler than it is now. So, some of these conditions might not necessarily be the same. But what's nice too is that, we could always go back and do a new back test and say, hey, I want to look at how it looked like during the pandemic sell-off. So you could say it's somewhat similar to what's happening right now. We could look and test the strategy during that period and see how it may have performed. In this case, actually not that terrible, but that's where you can just keep playing around with your entry and exit conditions and kind of refine your strategy based on looking at some past data. It's about as close as we have to paper trading at the moment. Paper trading is nice, especially as you're getting familiar with a platform or, trying to get familiar with how to place trades and manage them. But when you're looking at actually testing a strategy, takes a lot of time and just general normal paper trading. A lot of the times you don't have a year of paper trading to test your strategy to implement it. That's where this back testing tool comes in very, very nicely, where boom, in just about 3 seconds, you're able to test that strategy over the last year. Awesome. So that's our back testing tool. We can come back to it in just a little bit if we have more questions. And again, I see the question. These are just examples. It's not like saying long call spreads in Walmart are the best thing possible. Again, we're not registered investment advisors, so we can't strictly say, hey, do this, do that. And these are all self-directed accounts as well. So this is just simply a demonstration. If you ever want to find our contact information, this is just tastytrade.com. Go down here and you'll find contact us here. And this will take you to our contact information where you can find our phone numbers. You can find our emails. You can also chat in. So for example, that question you had there on Options Explorer, you can shoot us an email to support@tastytrade.com. I'm sure someone that has a little more experience with it could give a better answer for you there. Or tech@tastytrade.com. If you want to contact our trade desk directly, you can email there. Give us a phone call at any time, please. We're always happy to help answer questions, simple or not. We can set up one-on-one Zoom calls if you want to talk through the platforms or have a bunch of different questions you want answered. And then also, if you do have a bit of a language barrier or don't feel comfortable calling in, you can chat into us through our chat function here. Pretty much, you'll go through a couple clicks here or questions, or for example, if you need to log in help, you can find our chat through that function as well. And then see Joe, good question there. So I would highly recommend if you are new to our platform that you can go to courses.tastytrade.com. Oop, believe. There we go. So here, wait for that to load. If you have your tastytrade login and you go to courses.tastytrade.com, you can log into your account here, and hopefully I didn't dox myself too much there, but you can log into your account here and it'll take you to our courses page. Let me go ahead and just pull this off screen for just a moment. You can also find our courses in the dashboard, I believe, or no, it's in the manage section. So if you go to manage here on the web platform, so this is where you go to like fund your account, do account transfers and stuff like that. You check out this right here. This is going to take you to our courses section, and let me get signed into that without giving all my login credentials. There we go. It's not a day without doxing myself. But here you can find courses.tastytrade.com. This is where you can find a bunch of great tutorials on how to navigate the platform, place in your first options trade, place in your first stock trade, navigating the platform, how to fund, all that good stuff. Additionally, on our main website, just tastytrade.com, if you go to our Learn Center as well, so it's tastytrade.com/learn. This is where you can find a bunch of great information on different option strategies. So, we talked about long call vertical spreads. This is going to give you a breakdown on how it works, what are the profit or loss zones, some examples, how to set it up on the platform. So a bunch of great information on our Learn pages. And I saw someone ask about like definitions earlier too. We have a glossary on our help center here. So you can go look up our positions and watch tab glossary and check out all the different definitions for the different values. So you can see like, what does we mentioned extrinsic value, where to find the definition. You can see definition for extrinsic value here, or probability of profit, or POP. Find a definition for that too.